Okay, Love Needs a New Prescription, Season 7, Episodes 7 through 9. Let's talk about all of the standout moments. What stood out to me may not have stood out to you, so if there's anything that I forget, please leave a comment. Let me know how you're feeling about this season. Somebody commented, this is the worst season ever. I beg to differ. This season to me is the entertainment value is pretty high. I'm liking it. We're talking about far more real things than we have ever talked about before. And although I recognize like probably nobody should be together, I still like the show. The show is still very interesting. The show is still very strong in its concept. Anyway, so we're going to be starting off with episode 7. I completely forgot to mark these episodes, so I'm literally just going to be talking like a stream of consciousness as to everything that happened. Okay. So we see in Cabo, we're catching up with the couples, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of like them having fun moments, them having weird moments. One thing that we do see is that Nick and Hannah are showing growth as they catch up. Nick can admit to being a little bit selfish, which I think general consensus is that like that whole entire scene wasn't a big deal, but Nick should have comforted her and validated her and not like let a woman just call her jealous because they're getting to know each other. And then Hannah admits to being a little bitchy. I feel like we can all agree with that she can be a little much. But I feel like the ability to admit that that's an issue, strong. Like, that's great. Even though they're literally they're not a couple. Like, they're maybe besties. Maybe. But I just feel like there's a little bit of, like, this TV facade going on. You know what I mean? Let me know if you agree or not. Are Nick and Hannah a real couple? Somebody please let me know if you do think that they are. Anyway. So then we see that all couples are chilling at the honeymoon. And we see a conversation between, I said Taylor. Taylor was in the Navy for 7 years. It was not Taylor who was in the Navy. It was Marissa. So we find out that Marissa was in the Navy for 7 years. Also, the amount of people that are in the military, it's shocking, but it's also not shocking thinking about the placement that they're in. I think I saw an interview with Tyler that mentioned that, like, I think it was like 8 or 7 of the people from Love is Blind were in the military, but it's popular for people in DC to have served due to the fact that there's some sort of military, not benefit, but there's something there for military people, which is, like, obvious, like, it's DC. Anyway, so Marissa and Ramses are kind of just, like, frolicking on the boat and talking, whatever. We then catch up with Alex and Tim on their stuff. Tim is kind of letting his guard down after that crazy argument, which should not have happened. Like, which is really like, eesh. Tim genuinely blinked twice. Like, although I kind of feel a red flag from Tim himself, I still kind of feel like these two are not supposed to be together. And the only reason we were rooting for them is just because they, like, maybe look a little bit like they should be together. But I think, like, if that happens so early on in the relationship, it's going to happen again, and it's going to be explosive, I think. When you have that big of a red flag, when you have that big of an argument on, like, day 2 of you physically being together, it should be over. Anyway, so we see that Ashley and Tyler are going to be talking about making their own traditions. By the way, we are going to be talking in depth about Tyler because I have got the spoiler. It's not even a spoiler. I said that way too quickly. I saw was it his ex or is that just his baby mom? Is there a difference? I saw somebody that he had the children with going on Instagram being like, he was not a sperm donor, he was a father. How do we feel about that? Somebody please let me know how we're feeling about that, because at the very end, he talks about the whole sperm donor thing, and you're like, why is she giving him such a hard time? But it's like, because I know that some couples joke, and they're like, oh, it's my sperm donor. That was your baby daddy who you were, like, very much intertwined with until you decided you hated each other. Yeah, so is it like that type of a thing where he's, like, saying, oh, I was a sperm donor? It's like, how long can you keep that facade up? before the truth has to come out. You're on TV. So a little bit of me is kind of weirded out about this whole situation of him trying to... I will get to it later, okay? I'm not going to be... I was going to say spoiling, but I mean, like, I don't want to be talking about the things that I want to be talking about later. Okay. So Tim and Alex are kind of catching... Or Tim and Alex, sorry. Ashley and Tyler, oh my God, are catching up, making up their own traditions. And I said, interesting, is this man... As we found out, this man allegedly already got some children. He's talking about how, like, oh, when we have children, don't you have, like, 3? Anyway, okay, so then Nick and Hannah are bungee jumping. What the heck? Who invented that idea? Also, the idea of where, oh yeah, let's just, like, build this really big platform, jump off, and, like, spring. And it'll be, like, really fun. We'll just pull you back up and do it again. Like, the way that sounds like it was actually made up by a 5-year-old and adults want to do it all the time is... But you know what? I also really respected Nick and Hannah for that. I really did, because I was like, I didn't see Hannah being kind of like a bungee jumping type of a girl. I really saw her being kind of like a, I'm going to sit in the corner and judge you and act like I'm too cool for this type of a, like, you gotta give her props. You really do. Okay, so we have Steven and Monica having an important conversation about love languages. I'm not going to speak too much on Steven until the moment where Steven's things come up. So just know I'm getting to that. I just don't want to, like, talk too far ahead and then it just, like, ruins the whole entire recap. Okay. So Monica talks about how she would like to receive love, and honestly, as much as Monica is a little bit difficult to watch, like, she's not the nicest, she's not the most gentle, friendly soul. She is a little bit critical. Definitely, if I were a guy, I wouldn't seek her out. If I was a guy. I wouldn't be friends with her. Like, she just seems difficult. As much as we can recognize that, let's also just recognize, like, this is a valuable conversation, because it really just communicates to your partner, hey, this is how I'd like to be cherished. This is how I would like to be shown love. And I think it's really important for you to have those conversations with your partner, because I get into modes where, like, I don't want to remind my husband of my love language. Like, I want him to just kind of know by, like, instinct, by the fact that we have, you know, talked about it and explored it and whatever. However, when she goes on the tangent, well, no, it's not even a tangent. When she brings up the fact that she says, I refuse to let our different financial upbringing, like, keep us from things. When she meant, like, she doesn't want Steven to view him being more poor as an excuse as to what he can or can't do for her. It's so much easier for you to say that when you are the person who is more, like, financially stable. When you grew up in a better position, it's so much easier for you to say, oh, I don't want our financial upbringings to be, like, make us to, like, have cause differences between us, or a rift between us, or, like, cause for you to not give me gifts. It's like, yeah, but when you are the one who's bringing up Louis Vuitton and YSL, and you're saying you would like that, and he's like, what's Louis Vuitton? Like, no, that's so much easier said than done for you. I don't think that there should be an excuse as to you, like, showing your love language. You could have so little in your bank account, but you could literally go get, okay, maybe flowers are a little expensive. You could write out a really sweet, meaningful note, print out a picture of you two, and, like, go on a picnic or something. And that, so incredibly, whatever. I was going to say so incredibly cheap, so incredibly easy. I feel like love languages, like, you do not have to make things expensive, and I appreciated that. But she also, I feel like, was saying, I refuse to let blah, blah, blah get in the way. It's like, yeah, but you are also the person who's bringing up these designer bags that he doesn't know anything about. So, like, yeah, sometimes it does get in the way. And if you didn't grow up a little bit poor, if you didn't grow up working class, you don't know, you know, it just, like, there are limitations to what people feel as though they can do. There are also limitations to people feeling, like, stable, you know? Like, my husband and I, he grew up a little bit more stable than I was, but we both had moments of being poor. But, like, my moments were far longer than his. But, like, he can't relate to my feelings of instability because he hadn't been there for long. I don't know. This tangent is way too long. I just don't like I don't like that Monica's saying, I refuse to let, it's like, as the more, whatever. So, that went on way too long. I'm so sorry. So, in the conversation, I feel like Monica had legit concerns that she brought up to Steven. And so did Steven. Like, I feel like they had good conversation, but I just feel like Monica's way of presenting it is just kind of like, girl, what? Okay. So I wrote down the couples meet up and talk. Even Alex talks about potentially Tim leaving her, which is like exactly what was said beforehand. What exactly did you say? Did you mention that you put hands on him? Or what is going on, Alex? For real. Because the audience can see Tim's side. What are you telling your friends? So the fireworks go off. They're all up together. Monica's upset that Steven isn't watching the fireworks. It just like, she's just, I feel like, okay, this is a moment that's like valid for her to be upset, but sometimes in the delivery it's just really difficult because she wasn't very even keeled about the way that she responded to him. She goes over to her friends being like, everything he's doing is pissing me off. Everything he's doing. And it feels just like a little bit nitpicky, you know what I mean? But like I understand the sentiment of her wanting him to be with her, but it's also like, it's like chill like for a second. Like he can't do everything perfect. He can't seem to do one thing correct in your eyes. So then Steven comes over and he's like, hey, sorry, Gare was having a hard time. And you know what? At first I was like, you know what, you're like, yeah, you be a good friend. You be a good friend. You sit and you talk to your friend. But then he started being like, we're dealing with the fame of this. And like one day girls are going to be all up in his DMs wanting to, you know, provide services. He didn't say that. I'm just not saying that on YouTube so quickly. You know, one day girls are going to be up in his DMs wanting to get sexual with him. And it's like, what is happening? What is happening? Like, what the heck was he saying? What was, everything about this man has to turn sexual. It has no chance but to turn sexual. And it just weirds me out. That's with like a decent amount of people in this group. Same with Marissa a little bit. Anyway, it's like, what the heck? Okay. So we see that Hannah brings up how, if I wrote a really weird note, how if she asks somebody, if she asks Nick to do something, she feels like he'll be the type of person that she'll have to say it twice to. If Nick has ADHD, 100%. If you live with somebody with ADHD and they're unmedicated, 100% you're gonna ask them twice, 1,000 times, okay? That's no shade to anybody with ADHD, that's just me speaking from experience. But at the same time, she should not have like put that on him in a way that was very judgmental and very like, yeah, I know that if I ask you to do something, it's like you're being disappointed, so that when you are disappointed, it feels like you can hold it over his head. I have been there, okay? That's my toxic trait, is literally expecting somebody to fail, and then when they, I should not be admitting this, and then when they do fail, it's like, yeah. Yeah, okay. No, I don't really do that much anymore. It's like really difficult to have a healthy marriage and do that. But no, I do see that. So then she kind of brings up about how, and they're like kind of just chilling with each other. She's like bringing up how she's more emotionally intelligent than him, more mature. If you sincerely are more emotionally intelligent or mature, you do not need to say it. You do not need to bring it up. You don't need to hold it over somebody's head to make them feel bad. Not very mature or emotionally intelligent of you, is it? It's like a superiority thing with her, you know, and I really hate to be so critical of these women. I feel like I'm being so critical, but you know what? I gave it to the men, I think, last season pretty difficult, and like, if I'm just noticing things that are authentic, I'm just noticing these things. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But yeah, Hannah's like, I hate to see, you know, everybody, I feel like, is really coming at her hard on the interwebs, and I really want to try to be empathetic, but it's also kind of like, you're kind of difficult. Anyway, so we have Monica and Steven at their neutral spot. I said, or is it her place? No, it's just their neutral spot that they chill at. she really hints at wanting flowers. And you know what? I can't, like, I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, Monica, shut up about the flowers. Oh my God, be like Miley Cyrus and buy yourself some flowers. Like, I understand that. But at the same time, he's kind of giving her a cheat sheet instead of being like, I can't believe you never got me flowers. He's like, really, she's really telling him. She's really telling him that is something that she would appreciate. And I, like, understand it's annoying. It's like annoying to listen to, but I mean, she's really just saying exactly what she wants, and whatever. I don't have that big of a fault with it. She's like, I'm annoying for other reasons, you know. So then I see that Garrett and Taylor are talking at their neutral place in DC. Blah, boring. They're talking about spearfishing. They're such, like, they're an attractive, compatible couple, but every time they speak, HR is just present, and it just, I can't. So then we go and see that Ashley and Tyler pray. Knowing what we know about Tyler, this makes it feel a little different. This makes it feel like this has all been a performance. Has it not? Like, you can't just have a good man who just wants to pray on camera with this girl. Anyway, we have Marissa and Ramses talking about wedding things and how she wants a black wedding. And he's like, what the heck? And she kind of makes this little joke about how he's like anti-black, which was like kind of funny. Whatever. And I kind of like the idea, like, I just like the idea of a creative wedding, of you taking a wedding and making it your own. Every time I see photos of wedding guests in all black, it looks really classy. It looks really cool. So I'm kind of envious of it. I had like a traditional, boring wedding. So I'm kind of like, I'll support you in your black wedding, for real. Kind of cool. Then I see we're meeting the families. Oh, shoot. And this is the beginning of the end, I feel like. Most of the time in some of the other seasons. So we have Garrett and Taylor's family meet. How is Garrett's niece and nephew like that old? Like, Garrett's niece and nephew were like in their preteens. Like, is Garrett's sister like older? Because I have a sister who's in her 30s and she has like a 5-year-old. And like I'm like trying to do the math here to figure out like how. I'm just like, how is that? Can somebody please explain the niece and nephew? I just, it's like, what the heck? Anyway, that simply doesn't matter. We find out that Taylor, well, we knew that she was a consultant, but a clean energy consultant. That's cool. And that I love that Garrett was bragging about her, being like, yeah, she is her master's from Johns Hopkins. Like, that's so sweet to just be bragging about her and getting her like cool points with the family. The family meeting went so well. It was so cool to see the parents, who are skeptical, speak from a place of love as opposed to a place of like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't really know what marriage is. You don't know. I'm gonna grill you and be unnecessarily harsh and put this like marital pressure on you to make you feel like you're not gonna be as good for my daughter ever. No one's good for my dot. I hate those ones, dude. Oh my God. Like, make us uncomfortable. Why don't you? This one went fine. This one was perfect. I appreciated it. So we have Marissa and Ramses talk everything. I have like bullet points for this. So first of all, Marissa and Ramses, we see that Ramses has cooked and you're like, oh shoot, we have a chef. And then he makes the noodles a la Dante, or did they say dente? Al dente. It's al dente, I'm pretty sure, right? But the fact she was like, no, it's al dente. You ever like be convinced of somebody even when you like are 60% that they're like wrong, but they say it with such confidence that you're like, maybe it is al dente, and it's not, but you're not 100% sure. So you're just like, but that's what happened to Ramses. But also, how did he just, like, make those stay? Like, did he not, like, test one beforehand? You always got to test your noodles beforehand. So anyways, they sitting down and they talk a lot of things. One, who's going to officiate the wedding? So then we have Marissa being like, I want a woman. I want someone spiritual because I don't want the big boy up in our marriage and the union. And then they talk about religious beliefs. And so, like, Marissa was Mormon. And Ramses kind of talked about how he has a spiritual background as well, how he's in the ministry. Like, these are both people that are experienced and probably leaned more spiritual based off of their experiences, which I think is very interesting, even though Ramses did say that he has a connection to, like, a Christian God, which is, like, I also feel kind of similar to that. But, yeah, I feel like we all kind of have similarities to that, or we know of people who have that. So we talk about things like patriarchy and Barbie movie. Cool. And it's all like that. Like, I feel like we get the realness from these. Like, I feel like I see Ramses and Marissa as real people, because they actually talk about legitimate things that aren't just like surface level. They're very much like things that we don't even really see that much on Netflix, you know, or Netflix reality TV. Like, everyone's just talking about BS that, like, isn't of real life. Like, these people are talking about, like, Trump and the military and, like, the Barbie movie and past lives. Like, how often do you see reality TV, like, quoting, like, movies that have just come out? Anyway, so then we also have conversations about, like, an intense conversation about military and more so, like, ethics. And I really thought it was very interesting kind of listening to Ramses, because I am I don't even know if I can say, like, in support. Like, I feel like I'm very uneducated as to, like, what happens in the military, and I think that the average person is, unless you have a military family member or unless you're in the military yourself. So, like, as much as Marissa was being like, I support our troops, I support blah blah blah, she also did recognize I'm not comfortable with a lot of things that are going on in our military. And then I think from there, Ramses kind of was like, let me speak on that discomfort. Let me make you a little bit more uncomfortable. And was just kind of saying, like, I don't really mess with, like, supporting military. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I don't come from here. Like, Venezuela and U.S., I guess, military have had conflict and issue, which I can 110% see. It's probably a lot easier to be more critical when you come from a place that U.S. imperialism has impacted, as opposed to being in the U.S., having military family members. It's like you're not probably going to be as critical unless you've had bad instances. Very much appreciate that conversation because it's very real. Although I did feel when Marissa was like, I feel judged, because she did open up and say, you know, like, I do have some critiques, but then I also was raised military, have dated military, was in the military, was in the Navy for 7 years. And then he kind of only mentions the things that he's critical of. It's like, I felt judged for her. I did. But I also kind of feel like she kind of mentioned her opposition mainly to kind of appease him in a way, you know? Like, I don't think she would have gone as hard. She wasn't going that hard and being like, you know, there's some things in the military I don't agree with, when she was talking to, like, when she had, like, a Trump supporter boyfriend. You know, she didn't, like, those things are not being brought up. Like, she probably wouldn't have critiqued anything. So, like, in a way, I feel like she's kind of molding herself to Ramses and what Ramses is saying, because she would not have said that. Anyway, it's, like, important conversations that bring a lot of nuance. Very interesting. So then we see that Steven and Monica go to a plant store where you can press flowers, which was, like, so cute and so thoughtful. It makes you think, like, oh my god, like, you really don't have to do the traditional route of, like, I'm gonna go to Walmart or, like, a grocery store or wherever, the plant store, just to get flowers and make my girl happy. Like, no, you can go to a plant store, press flowers, like, get this really cute, like, unique gift and make somebody happy that way. Like, that's so special and precious. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I thought it was good. So we find out that Nick lives with his parents. I'm not going to knock that at all. However, when we find out that we know that Nick lives with his parents, you just know that hit Hannah in a specific way. It's like, a lot of me was thinking, oh shoot, she lives with his parents. Hannah is gonna hate that, because she has further fuel to just, like, emasculate the heck out of him. Okay, so then we see that Marissa's friend What am I saying here? Marissa's friend, I said, oof, bring your first challenge to your friends. Yeah, because so Marissa and Ramses meet up with her friends and they sit down and talk. And like, I always find it a little bit jarring whenever they sit down and talk and they just get into like real things about the experiment super quick. Experiment? And they don't like do the whole like, so I was born and raised in blah blah blah. Like, I know that they're probably having those conversations, but we just don't see it. So we just drive straight into his issues with the military. And I know that some of her friends, like, you knew even before the girl said it, like, some of these people are vets, like, you know that. It's like, it's just like her dating history is just kind of it was kind of like a little bit of a hint to be like, this girl be around those people, you know what I mean? So they bring up talking about the first challenge and about how he has issues with the military, which I kind of thought was like, why so quickly was this brought up? Like, and then I was also kind of battling with the idea of like, you know what, he is being very true to himself and being very authentic in a way that is not necessarily likable, but it's authentic. Like, authenticity versus likability, I think it's so important to have people around you that like value authenticity as opposed to likability, because then like if you're with somebody that's trying to be likable, they're just always gonna like be lying, you know? But I mean, I also kind of feel like, did we need for that first meeting to be discussing something that was like a tough issue for them that they just exposed? Did we? I feel like no. But at the same time, I don't know. This is Netflix and it's interesting. And I also kind of feel like it almost made me feel like a little bit of it was like a pink flag on, like, here I'm saying like, oh, I like that Ramsey is being so authentic, but at the same time it was a little bit of a pink flag that he was bringing this up with her friends. Because a little bit of it is like, okay, but now you're kind of opening this up for debate and these people just met you. They just met you. Anyway, so then I talk about Alex's family dynamic, which I feel like was tense, was it not? But I mean, it makes sense, honestly, when the way that Alex interacts with, what's his name, Tim's awkward ass, like, Tim is like an awkward guy, but I feel like Alex, we can see, comes from a little bit of an awkward family. But I will say, the sequence of events and how everything was set up, it's like, so we're gonna like sit and talk to each other, you're gonna go talk to my dad, I'm gonna whatever. Like, I feel like she was being very mindful and really setting him up for success, and it did go successfully. I thought it was really sweet when he read the note. Like, that was a really, really good idea, because like if you're with a daddy's girl or whatever, like, and you really want to appease him, he did it. He did the thing. That's cool. So then we have Monica and Steven having really weird, interesting talks that always turn sexual. And it's so like, it's always weird because Steven is just an oddball, and I'm starting to get the annoyance because I feel like the more that Steven talks, the more you're like, what are we saying? Like, what are we saying? You were trying to console your friend and now you're talking about fireworks. What are we saying? Anyway. So then we have Hannah getting down to business with Nick being like, so how do you handle this related to the household? How do you handle this related to finance? Work-wise, you know, just kind of dealing out the nitty-gritty. And I thought that was good on her end, because you should be having those conversations before you start living with someone, and it was respectable and commendable. And I thought that she was going to be a little bit more like degrading. She only mentioned like a couple comments that were like a little bit like, where she was like, do you have a 401k? It's like some of these things that like she knew he didn't have because he'd been living with his parents. But still, like, good exposure to the conversation. Still, I don't know, I appreciated it. So we have Monica and Steven talking. Steven had I need to not skate over this. Okay, so Monica and Steven talk. Steven has inappropriate conversations with somebody. but we don't get like any clarity as to what the heck actually happened. I wish Love is Blind beforehand would have put like some sort of the explanation as to what the heck was going on, you know, where they do the Stephen went to a sleep study the night before and caught up with a coworker, or whatever, you know. But we literally just come in and see Monica crying, talking to Taylor, and then Stephen be popping up. And then she was like, "It's disgusting, Stephen." And we're like, "What's disgusting, Stephen?" And so apparently, I guess it was just some inappropriate conversations that were sexual in nature. And we don't really know. But we're just going to take Monica's word for it and the fact that Stephen admitted to something was happening. So, yeah. Stephen genuinely needs a lot of therapy. I think he has really low self-esteem and high self-sabotaging tendencies or something, because there's something going on to where if you have cheated, like if you have a pattern of cheating and it's because you don't feel like you deserve someone, what the heck is that? Work on that before you go on Love is Blind and expose that to like the world. What? Because it felt like he was confused himself as to what the heck was going on. Like, why are you like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I did that yesterday. And she's like, it was today. And he's like, it was today. I'm so sorry, Monica. I don't deserve it. Girl, what are we talking about? You did that thing and now you're sitting here being like, you're so right. What? You feel a little ill mentally. Anyway. Ooh, we don't even really like Monica that much. I'm pretty sure the audience probably is not rooting for Monica, but we can feel bad for her. Because this is something that people should not, the treatment that nobody should be getting. You know, it's like, ooh, so sorry, Monica. Like, even though you're nitpicky and you're kind of annoying and difficult to be around, no one deserves that. Sorry. Ooh, okay, so then I also really like that Garrett came and supported as well. When men come by and like support women who are hurting, it actually means so much to be supported by like people who your friend is supported. Like, that's so sweet. Okay, so then I have specific notes about Hannah and Nick cooking, and I can see the annoyance, and I felt a little bit of secondhand embarrassment because I just do not understand how Nick is 28 and needed instructions on how to bring pasta water to a boil, and like how to, you know. But I did, like, the reason that I feel it's like an embarrassment is because I don't feel like he deserved the type of ridiculing he was getting, is because Nick was kind of like, just show me how to do, I'll do it. But also he was getting kind of defiant, right? And he was like, nah, it's boring, I don't do that. It's like, girl, that's because you don't know how to do that, do you? Like, but he did end up doing it, and he was open. I don't know. So we see that Hannah's brother comes by, and they all get along by like poking fun. Hannah seems to be very much like a roaster type of a girl. Comes from like a roasting type of a family, I think. So then when Nick matches Hannah, when Nick matches Hannah about the whole like unemployed comment, all of a sudden it's like an issue. And he said that. He said as much. He did say like, oh yeah, I try to poke fun at you and you poke fun at me all day, but I can't just say one comment about you being unemployed, which you are. All of a sudden it's like, I'm a jerk. Like, what? But then Nick tries to kind of like console in her brother, and I thought that was a bad idea, because I kind of feel like when you try to console with somebody you just met and you know that the person and you know that like Hannah is the type of person to be like talking all the time, I kind of feel like her brother would probably be like, oh yeah, totally, and then be talking with Hannah later, you know? Okay, so then we have Ramsey's meeting Marissa's family. LOL. This was crazy. Okay, I'm just gonna go through these notes. I have so many notes for this one. So I wrote down that Ramsey's meets Marissa's family. It's a big blended family where one of the siblings said all our dads could make a volleyball team. That's That's wild. Okay, so then I wrote down that Marissa's mom said that even Ramses and Marissa look like siblings. And then makes a note about how Ramses' fashion sense is off, which is the first turning point to knowing that Marissa's mom is a direct wrecker, and she will just say whatever the heck is on her mind. I personally thought it was like mean for her to be like, and your fashion sense is like, there's no, like, you only say that to people that you feel comfortable with, like you just met him. But at the same time, some people appreciate that directness. I don't. Some people do. I personally think it's a little mean, a little rude, but whatever. It's just like some people say like, oh, I'm just direct, I just say whatever's on my mind, people like me, I'm quirky, I say what's on my mind. No, you just want to drag people, and then people just get tired of it and just like are accepting of the fact that that's who you are. But you could like take a note to know you don't have to like be throwing digs out at random people anytime you like it's off-putting, it's difficult to be around, but whatever. It's a family dynamic, so nobody's giving her about it, really. So then I have Marissa mom asking about his degree. He's like, yeah, I actually dropped out because my dad died, so try to shame me now. Because yeah, it's like, yeah, also even like the idea of like, where'd you get your degree? Did I say I went to school? I didn't say I went to school. Anyway, so Marissa's mom and everybody just keeps talking. And Marissa's like, I would say that me and my mom could do something. And then Marissa's like, but my mom thinks I'm mean. And Marissa's mom says like, calls her a bitch. Oh my God. I can't imagine. Like, my mom's a sweet little Christian woman, so she would never. But can you imagine being so close to your mom that she just like openly just says that? I can't. I even feel like it's kind of wild when my husband's mom calls my husband a brat. Like, and she says that like the most friendly, like the most funny, like in a very joking way. But even that is kind of like, whoa. Okay, so then we have Ramses bringing up his previous marriage at 25. He's like, yeah, so we got married at 25, which is really young. She's like, it's not that young, which I do agree with. I am 25 right now. And as somebody who's been married for 2 years, I got married young, 22. 25, now that my prefrontal cortex, my prefrontal cortex, girl, my lobe is all the way there. They say that doesn't even like solidify until 27. I do agree. I'm just gonna keep it at that. I agree. 27 isn't that young. Okay, so mom asks why it didn't work out with Ramses, and Ramses starts to kind of explain, be like, so when you get married, and she's like, you're gonna explain being married to me? Have you not seen how many children I brought into this world? What the heck are you saying? So then he gets into the nitty-gritty, which like I appreciate that. I think maybe I sometimes need to bring that energy into conversations, because you ever like ask something that's like a specific question that you want an individual to answer as an individual, and they make it like broaden, and they try to explain it to you like as if you don't know, as if you're not about the business. Anyway, I feel like he was like, there are incompatibilities, and but religion was the main one, and he says the most loving thing to do is let her go. When you poeticize something like divorce, I'm out. Stop doing that. I want to know, like, legitimate, like, what was the last conversation you had about religion to where it was like, oh, this is that I can't live with somebody? Because the most loving thing I could do was let her go. It's like, what? Like, you definitely knew of each other's religion when you got married. So what exactly changed? I just want to, that's also another thing that kind of tipped me off to Ramses maybe having red flags. It's like, the most loving thing I could do is let her go. That's weird. Okay. So then the mom brings up the prenup conversation, and like, it's understandable to advise, but like I feel like it was much more of a demand. Like, You need to get a prenup or else you're going to be screwed like me because I made all these mistakes when I was young and I was left in ruin. Girl, that's your experience. You can advise and tell them the value that you took from potentially missing out on or the value that they are going to take so that they don't end up in the same position that you are. But like, you can't, the way that she did it was just so aggressive. Okay. The whole, if you hurt my daughters, I'm gonna cut off your balls. My husband had like an issue with that. We haven't watched it together, but he saw it in the preview. He was like, ew, I don't like, that was gross. I personally don't have a big problem with that because I know a lot of moms feel that way. Like, if you hurt my dad, I'm gonna cut off your balls. I think it's an exaggerated, crazy way to say that. I don't think I ever would have the nerve to say that to somebody. But I like don't have that big of an issue with it. Do you have a big, because my husband was like very off put by that. I just thought it was funny. Okay, because she's also a weird girl. She's crazy and direct. Not crazy, but she's direct. Okay, so then we have Hannah's family meeting. It goes like easy. It's normal. Hannah's like, are you gonna grill him? And the family is exactly how I'd react and be like, grill what? For what? Like, what's the point of that? You're engaged. Like, I thought it was so funny. I don't get the point of grilling other than to really let your spouse know how much she's protected. Like, I get that part, but I feel like there's just so much more. There's so many, like, there's such a better way to deliver things that to me, I'm like, do you have to, grilling, is it really that necessary? But at the same time, I don't know. Some people think it really, really is. I don't know. So, Alex and Tim. Alex's place is wild. And Tim doesn't mind, and he thinks it's okay. I personally am like, that's a little bit too wild for me. But I don't know. I guess she did kind of leave off when she was going to vacation. But at the same time, like, clean up a little, right? Like, is there not a little shame? I don't know. So we see G and Tay. There was, like, the friendship meeting with Taylor's friends. Taylor's friends are, like, very comfortable and open. I appreciated them. I have to get going to work, so I'm going to speed this up. So we see Marissa and Ramses. Sorry, I really want to stress that I really liked Taylor's friends because it felt very open, like a conversation that was rooted in love and rooted in understanding and rooted in like, oh my God, look, our friend is so happy, as opposed to like a grilling, you know? Anyway, Marissa and Ramses go over the whole family meeting, talk about birth control methods. That's interesting. The whole like, just shut up and just put the condom on. Sorry. But then also I kind of feel like with women who don't want to go on birth control, I don't want to be the oppressive voice to be like, just do it for the man. Like, cause it's like, bro, women for so long have had to be subjected to like birth control methods. Why can't a man just like for a couple years, just like shut up and take it? I'm so mean, but like, but also there's a bunch of birth control methods out there. Like not one can work for you. I don't know. That's kind of my take about it. Like, cause I've had to jump from a couple birth control methods, and the one I'm taking now works better for me in my body because the last one left me with blood clots. But I kind of feel like when people don't take birth control, it's like, what? There's so many methods you could try out. There's so many, especially when you're like older. Have you just never been on birth control? I don't know. Anyway, so we see Hannah and Nick's family. I have to get off. Hannah and Nick's family. It like really humanizes Nick to see his family. And to just see that his mom and dad are just like regular people and how he just like stayed in their house because they like love him a lot and want to provide for him. It like makes you it makes you go from like, oh my God, Nick is a bum, he can't just like get out and get his own place, to being like, oh my God, look at his family, look how sweet they are, look at how like he is a nice boy, like he hasn't really done anything that wrong lately. Hannah's just really critical. Why would she be so critical of somebody so nice and like just a family guy? Yeah, you know, like, I feel like Hannah's probably gonna feel bad watching this back, knowing how critical she's been, because I felt bad for her. We end off on Tyler and Ashley. We finally hear about the children, about how he has sperm donor kids, which does not sound real. Let me know how you think about Ashley and Tyler. Personally, I kind of feel like he's using the whole sperm donor thing as like a facade, because I saw the ex or whatever go off on Instagram. She seemed very disgruntled and very upset about him. But I don't know, I feel like I need to hear from him for him to like sit up on the reunion stage and be like, I did lie about it. They weren't sperm donor kids. They were my kids, and I'm a deadbeat dad. I'm a deadbeat. I am. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll really just have to hear from the horse's mouth. Let me know how you feel about this. Please let me know any of the questions that I asked. Like, are Hannah and Nick a real couple? I want to know. Do you think that Tyler's kids are really his, or they sperm donor? Who is your favorite couple? What do you think about Ramsey's military views? Anything. Yeah, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night.